And we are live. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the HackSmarter Twitch channel. My name is Tyler Ramsbey, and I get to hang out with you this evening. So, whether you're watching me on Twitch or watching me after the fact on YouTube, it is good to have you hanging out with me. We are going to dive back into the AWS pathway on TryHackMe called Attacking and Defending AWS. This is a business exclusive. I have access for 1 month, and I got permission from TryHackMe to live stream the entire thing. So my goal is to make it through this entire pathway this month and to live stream every part of it. So those of you without access, you can kind of live through me without needing to get access to the pathway. So we'll dive right back into it. We'll see what we think about it. Let me share my screen and we'll pick up where we left off. And for those of you on Twitch, just let me know if everything sounds good. Would appreciate that. I have no way of monitoring myself. So here we go. This is what we went through last night. So we covered AWS Cloud 101, we covered AWS Basic Concepts, we covered Introduction to AWS IAM, and we covered IAM Principles. Now, if you missed one of these, you can catch them on my YouTube channel. I'm going to drop my YouTube over in the chat here on Twitch. I think that's the correct link that I just dropped there. And what I'm doing is I'm releasing one of these recordings every single day. So today I release this one, tomorrow this one will come out, and then vice versa. So basically every single day on my YouTube channel, you will see content coming out as we work our way through this pathway. Now, let's dig into it. We will begin with IAM permissions. I'm just going to pick up where we left off, and we will keep going. For those of you on Twitch, a special welcome. I want to say hi to Mike Firo. Say hi to the one and only Callie Max. Say hi to Sarah on view. Good to have all of you here. And it looks like we have a little over 20 people watching. So those who haven't said anything in the chat, hello to you as well. If you have a Twitch account, would love to hear where you're watching from. Say hi in the chat and let's work through this together. As usual, when I go through machines, guys, I have not done this ahead of time. So you are getting my live reaction as we go through it. And as usual, I'm going to read through the content in its entirety. Even if it's not new to me, I want to read all of it because I know it might be new to you. And because this is a business exclusive pathway, I want to make sure you're getting all of the content as we work through it together. Diabolical Dope said, how much is the subscription to get this path access? So there's actually two subscriptions you need. You need a business account, which a business account, you need a minimum of 5 seats, so 5 people on your business plan, and it costs $480 per seat on the business plan. And then for the AWS learning content, that's an additional fee on top of that. And I don't even remember the full price, but basically when you're at that point, you work with TryHackMe directly to get those things set up. So you don't have access to this, unfortunately, with just like a regular VIP account. It is a business exclusive one, and we set up HackSmarter security. So we have our own business account, at least a handful of us. All right, let's dive into IAM permissions. I think we have cloud details. Do I need to spin this environment back up? No, okay, I don't. I'm going to get this pulled up. I know we were working through this, so we will log into our AWS environment here. We got that pulled up. And here is why it's business exclusive, y'all. It's not cheap to host each one of these AWS environments. And as you can imagine, TryHackMe has, what is it, a little over 2 million users. There's just no way they can offer this at the current price point. So they would have to either raise it way up. One cool thing that I think would be neat is if, regular users could pay a fee, even if it's a pretty big fee, to get access to this for like 3 months, something along those lines. But I don't work at TryHackMe. All right, let's keep going. Structure of an IAM policy. An IAM principal can have multiple policies attached to it. These policies determine what the principal is authorized to do in your account. Each policy consists of one or more statements that consist of 1, an optional statement identifier, the SID, action, a list of things a policy allows or denies, resource, the ARNs of resources a statement applies to, effect, either allow or deny, condition, optional conditions that must be satisfied for the policy to grant permission. AWS provides many AWS managed policies that contain a list of actions that usually map to a specific job function. However, AWS customers can also create custom policies that are more fine-grained. For example, you can craft an IAM policy that only allows someone to read from one specific S3 bucket or to start or stop but not terminate a specific EC2 instance or a virtual machine. Customer policies can be either customer managed policies or inline policies directly attached to a specific principal and cannot be shared. Inline policies are best to ensure a direct relationship between a principal and the policies granted. In contrast, managed policies can reuse the policy across multiple principals. The most powerful AWS managed policy is the administrator access policy shown below. And we can run some of this on this Cloud Shell right here. So if you're following along in your own AWS environment, you can pop open Cloud Shell, and then we can actually run the CLI commands right here in our browser. Looks like it's taking a little bit to run. Oh, it says it's ready. Let's see if we can type it. So if we do AWS IAM get policy ARN. Oh, I need to actually specify the policy ARN, the administrator access one. Let's grab this. I don't feel like typing that out. There we go. So we have it right here. We have our policy name, administrator access, our policy ID, our ARN, which is the unique identifier, our path. If we scroll down on here, well, that's everything. We have a description, is attachable true, all of that good stuff. So that is the policy administrator access. And this is, we're getting version ID 1. So let's do that same command. And you can see here's our default version ID. So that's what we're specifying there. We'll do that version ID version 1. Did I type that wrong? Policy ARN. Unless I actually have to do it in the AWS CLI, like in my virtual machine. Oh well, we'll just trust them with it. I don't have my VM open, but if we do get to that, I already have like the Amazon CLI configured in my virtual machine, and we could actually configure this full account in our virtual machine as well. So we see here, what is the administrator access policy? Well, a big thing to pay attention to is it allows, and then remember, these are wildcards. In other words, this administrator access policy allows us to do any action to any resource. That's the big thing that we're going to look for. Looking at the policy statement, we can see it allows all actions and all resources. So exactly what I just said. In the remaining tasks in this room, we will go through all the different elements of an IAM statement in more depth. There is another managed policy called read-only access. Using the commands above, go look at the permissions granted to the read-only access user. At the time of this writing, the version ID was version 83. Use the AWS CLI shown below to answer the following question. Well, that didn't work when I did that. Let's go like this. I'm just going to boot up my Kali VM, and we're going to configure this account. This might actually be good practice to show you guys how to configure a name profile in AWS, because I don't think it actually guides you through this process yet, but for some reason those commands aren't working fully in the little Cloud Shell thing. VirtualBox does this weird thing where I have to minimize it in order to get it to work properly. Okay, you know what we could actually do? We are going to just log into TryHackMe from here. And we'll just do the rest of this room from inside of my Kali machine, because it's going to make things a little bit easier working with the CLI. So we're going to go to Learning Pass, Attacking and Defending AWS. And we're looking at IAM permissions, and we'll open up our terminal. Okay, beautiful. And now we can set up our name profile, which I think is AWS, is it configure? Yeah, profile. And we'll just call this TryHackMe. And I believe we had our access ID here. Secret access key. I don't know if we have a default region. I'm just going to say US East. Okay. And now we should be able to do these commands directly from here. So if I do like AWS IAM get policy ARN, we can drop this in here. And then if we append profile TryHackMe, there we go. So now we can do it all from here. Now I wonder if this command works or if I missed something. Oh no, I just typed it wrong, guys. That's get policy version. That's what I typed wrong. Some of you are probably yelling at stream realizing I did that wrong. It's get policy version. And then we want our policy ARN right here. But this is cooler. Now we're working from our own terminal. A little more learning here. Version ID v1 and then profile TryHackMe. There we go. So now it's working. I just have my syntax wrong. So you could do it from the little cloud CLI, but hey, we have our VirtualBox open. We are in Cali. That makes us feel more like hackers, so we'll just keep it as it is. And this is actually where I have some of my AWS pen testing tools. So what are we looking for? What is the policy ID of the read-only access managed policy? Okay, and it said the default version ID was version 83. So can I just change this to 83? And then we'll change this to read-only access. There we go. What is the policy ID? Wait, that's what I just did, right? This is, do they mean policy ARN? I don't know if this is what they mean by that. Nope. Oh, policy ID there. Okay, so I actually have to do the first command. My goodness. So this first command right here, but with the read-only access. There we go, and there's our policy ID. And actually, it looks like we're at version 102. All right. Accessing the environment. We already did that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Action. Actions consist of a service and an API call. Some examples are EC2 stop instance, S3 get object, STS assume role, and IAM list users. In the above example, EC2, S3, STS, and IAM are the services, while stop instance, get object, assume role, etc. are the API calls. Actions are case insensitive, however. Service names are almost always written in the lowercase, and API calls match the camel case in AWS documentation. Actions support wildcards, so to permit all the actions for the S3 service, you can use an action of that, which we just saw with the administrator policy, or to scope to read-only actions, you can use get, and then the wildcard. AWS does not enforce consistency across services for API calls. Some services use describe, while others use get or list. The complete list of IAM actions can be found here. If you write IAM policies on a regular basis, you'll probably want to bookmark this link. What action grants permissions to create access keys and secret access keys for the specified IAM user? You can find a hint there. What action grants permissions to create access key and secret access key for the specified IAM user? All right, well, let's check it out. Looking over the chat, what are you guys all talking about? Oh, you meant the tool from GitHub called AWS Shell. Oh, gotcha. I already had AWS CLI configured on my Kali VM. Sarah on View said, if the administration access is configured for everyone in policies, then it should be accessible by public users as well, right? Yeah, nope, it is. It's just for resources. So when you're looking at that, it's what the administrator themselves can do, not what you can do to the administrator. I forgot the question. What action grants permission to create access key and secret access keys? Oh, wow. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. All right. Let me log in real quick. Y'all can email me all you want. Email me all your spam. Dude, bro, I already hit login. Let's see if ChatGPT can get this for us. This is how I did my Cloud Goat scenarios when I was trying to figure out CLI. IAM create access key. That sounds right to me. See, ChatGPT comes in clutch. Resource. A resource is always in an ARN format or a wildcard to represent any resource. Let me get this up here. Resources and IAM policies are essential to achieving the principle of least privilege. Suppose there are multiple applications or teams in a single account. In that case, least privilege will dictate that application A cannot access the data belonging to application B unless there is a business need. By crafting a policy that only permits application A to access S3 buckets belonging to application A, least privilege is possible. Recall, the ARNs include the AWS region, account ID, and resource name as part of the ARN. ARNs that are global, like IAM, have an empty value for the region. Because AWS cannot identify what resources a customer may have, all AWS managed policies, the wildcard, use the wildcard as the resource value. In the case of the ARN of an AWS managed policy, since these are managed by AWS and not owned by anyone's AWS account, the account ID field is an empty value. In your account, there is a bucket that begins with TryHackMe bucket and ends with your unique account ID. What is the ARN of that bucket, excluding the last 12-digit account ID? AWS S3. Is it just LS? There it is. So there's our bucket. What is the ARN of that bucket, excluding the last 12-digit ID? Don't actually, would it be like... Ooh, that totally screwed up the syntax. I just don't feel like typing that. There's nothing in it. To get the ARN of it, is it like describe? Here, let's ask ChatGPT. Oh, get bucket ARN. I don't think we have to do S3 API. So if we do AWS S3, get bucket ARN, and then we specify the bucket. Whoops. We don't need all that. And then we'll append. Maybe I do need the API. Nope, that doesn't work. Oh, well, it's just default though. Like, look at this. It just obviously follows a standard naming pattern. Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, excluding the last 12-digit account ID. There we go. I was just overthinking that. Let's keep going. Clear this out. Effect can be either allow or deny. With AWS IAM, there's a default implicit deny. All policy statements that match the request's action, resource, and condition are evaluated. If there is any explicit deny, then the action is denied. Otherwise, if there is an explicit allow, the action is allowed. Otherwise, the final decision is to deny the request. So we can see this policy enforcement here. Decision starts at deny. So everything is denied by default. Evaluate all applicable policies. Is there an explicit deny? Yes. All right, then deny. No. Is there an allow? Well, no. Then we're going to deny because that's default. Yes. Then our final decision is allowed. For the following question, look at this policy, and let's see if we can understand this ourselves. So here's the action. And it says for EC2s, it can describe an EC2, which means it can list the characteristics of the EC2. For secrets manager, it can list secrets, and it can also get the secrets value. So it can not only list secrets and actually pull the values out. And then we have what resources, like which one of these resources, EC2s and secrets manager, does this apply to? Well, it applies to all of them, and the effect is allow. And then we have this action, which is just a wildcard action on this resource secrets manager. Oh, and then effect deny. Okay, so if we understand this properly, what this would allow us to do is it would allow us to describe EC2 instances, because that's still there. But although it tells us we can allow on the secrets manager resource, down here we have an explicit deny that we can't read HR passwords. So you'll be able to read all the other secrets, but because we have this explicit deny, we can read all the secrets but HR passwords. That's how I'm reading this policy. Let's see if we're reading this correctly. Given the policy above, can this user get the HR password? Well, I just said no, I don't think they can. And I am right. Let's keep going. Principle. Only required for resource policies, not identity-based policies, the principal element specifies the principal that is allowed or denied access to a resource. If the principal is the wildcard, the policy applies to anyone or all AWS customers depending on the service. We'll cover resource policies in the next room. The following resource policy grants public access to read a bucket and only allows user Severus Snape, Dumbledore. You guys know that song from YouTube? Only allows the user Snape the ability to write to the bucket. All right. Here's our statement. Our SID, allow, they spelled allow wrong. Allow public read. The effect is allow, and then we have a wild card. Action is S3 get object. And here's the resource, the dark arts class notes. I see. And then allow public read, allow. We have Snape, so we're allowing the principal Snape. We can see the principal there that matches up with what it's talking about up there. And what can Snape do? Well, he can put objects in the S3 bucket, and he can maybe modify the S3 bucket's ACL. I think is what put object ACL might mean. And then here's the resource, anything inside of the dark arts class notes S3 bucket. You can specify any of the following principles in a policy: AWS account and root user, IAM roles, role sessions, IAM users, federated user sessions, AWS services, and all principles. Look in your account. What is the principle that is allowed to assume the organization account access role rule? So if we want to list principles, what's the hint? Be sure to include everything inside the principal curly braces. What is the principle that is allowed to assume? Okay. Let's ask ChatGPT. It must be a way to list principles, and then maybe we can filter or grep. Or we're just specifying the role. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I want to type it to build muscle memory. So AWS IAM get role. And you guys can notice how the CLI is so dang confusing. At least it is to me. It's just not simple. Organization, account, access, role. Okay. And I don't remember the question. The principle that is allowed to assume this, and we can see this as root, and that's what's going on here. We have some of the things we already talked about before. Here's our effective allow on the principle root, and then it can assume role is MFA present true, account for organization owners to assume into to manage this account. So we want to get, what was the hint? Be sure to include everything inside the principal curly braces. So just this. They want all of this. What do they want? I know this is the right answer. Do they want the curly brackets? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. – 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3 Obviously, that's what they're looking for. 3, 4. Oh, do I need... Oh, they want all the commas, maybe. Do they actually want the brackets? I don't think so. It says include everything inside the brackets. Okay, it's kind of a dumb question. I don't understand the syntax they want. Be sure to include everything inside the principal curly braces. I freaking did include everything inside the principal curly braces. Do you not? Well, you would need these. You guys see what I'm missing? This is a dumb way of wording this, in my opinion. Because so we can see the number of characters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 here. There's 5 here. But this is clearly the principal. I don't know what TryHackMe is looking for here. Ticker, the problem with that is they said include everything in the principal, which would include the AWS. And I don't think just using the ARM matches up. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So you got 3 of these before you get to the double ones. This only has 2. So it clearly wants the whole thing. I'll even show you. Right? If I copy this, paste. Nope. If I do it with the quotations. Nope. It's a dumb question. I honestly think their question's wrong. Or the answer is wrong. Oh, is it up here? Is that what it's looking for? But see, I don't think so. I don't think it matches. Am I wrong? It says to include, look at the hint though. Be sure to include everything inside the principal curly brackets. Here's the principal curly brackets, guys. You see that? Principal curly brackets right there. But you're telling me you think it's this one? Let's find out. Nope. Stupid question. Dear TryHackMe, reword this question or reword your hint. It doesn't even match the characters. You say to include everything inside the principal curly braces. Okay. This is everything inside the principal curly braces. Y'all see that? But look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters there. And in here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we have 6 there. What the heck am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guys, the frick. Look in your organization. What is the principal that is allowed to assume the organization account role? Here's the principal. What's their action? They can assume role. And MFA is present. The ARM by itself, without quotes. You mean just that? That doesn't match up. Look at the dot thingies. There's 2 dots before you get to the double dot. Here there's 1, 2, 3 dots before you get to the double dot. We're just skipping the question. There, I'm done. The dots have to match. That's how TryHackMe works. If the dots don't match, the question won't work. When you type in an answer as the room creator, this is automatically created based on the correct answer. It can't be modified. So if your answer does not follow this exact syntax, it will not be correct. I don't know what else to try here. And I know none of you have done the AWS pen testing pass. This is a business exclusive. I legit think it's a bug in the path. Because this is clearly the right answer, but it doesn't work, which is why I think it's an actual bug. You want me a list roll? Oh, hold up, guys. I know what I did wrong. TryHackMe is not dumb. I'm dumb. I wasn't using the right profile. I think. Good game. Nope, I'm the dumb one. Not TryHackMe. Lesson learned, though. I do that every once in a while where I forget to do this. So this is actually listing the AWS of my sandbox account. I have like my own AWS environment set up for CloudGoat, and that's my default AWS environment on here. So what you guys are seeing here is my default AWS environment instead of the one that we need to do for TryHackMe. That's why it's so important when you set up a name profile, you need to append profile and then the name on there. So, all right, I apologize to TryHackMe. The question's not stupid. I am stupid. Let's keep going. That's the fun part about doing this live. I get to be the one making silly mistakes on stream. All right. Conditions. Conditions are optional elements that users can add to a policy. They evaluate against specific keys and values in the context of the request. The context of the request is specific to the actions and resource type. For example, the condition keys available for S3 can be found in the S3 actions table. Scroll to the right on the enter table if you don't see the columns key. Oh, I see right there. Okay. All conditions must be met for the condition block to evaluate true. However, if multiple values for a condition key are provided, the presence of any of these values allow the condition to return true. So here's our condition block. Or, and. If any of the conditions, let's see if any of these values allows a condition for a condition key, for the presence of any of these allow it to return true. Okay, got it. Condition statements have special operators that are used to evaluate the conditions. Examples are string equals, strings not equals, string not like if exists, etc. There are a number of global condition context keys that you can add to your statements based on the attributes of the API call. One of the most common ones is AWS source IP, allowing or denying an action based on the IP address it's coming from. Another popular context key is AWS resource tag key. This condition key can be used to grant or deny access based on the specific tags of the resource. If the statement were this, and we have the SID manage house service, allow, and what is it allowed to do? Well, it's allowed to terminate instances on this specific resource. So anything with resource, we have a wildcard. And then we have this condition, string equals resource tag Hogwarts house Hufflepuff. So if I'm understanding this correctly, the manage house server would be able to terminate any instance in the Hogwarts house that matches Hufflepuff in the Hufflepuff house. The principal with this role would only be granted access to the Hufflepuff EC2 machines. If the machine were tagged Hogwarts House Gryffindor, this allow effect would not apply. The use of AWS Resource Tag is a fundamental building block of Attribute-Based Access Controller, ABAC. In the next room, we'll see a global context key, AWS Principal Org ID, used to ensure only members of the TryHackMe community are able to invoke a Lambda function. So let's read this statement together. We have the effect deny. So we have a implicit deny, or explicit deny, I should say. And we have a wildcard. So it's saying no one can put an object in the S3 bucket on at least this resource. So no one can put an object in the AWS logs account number resource. Condition string. So if the string does not equal this VPC. Okay. So unless they're in the VPC, the TryHackMe VPC, it would appear as an example, ABCDFT. Unless they are in this one, if they're not in this one, they can't do this. If they are in it, then they might be able to do it, maybe. The glue service running on VPC 12345 can write an object to the mylogs bucket. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is, remember, it's always deny unless it's allowed. So even though it says, hey, this doesn't apply to this VPC, I'd assume it's still a deny because we don't have an explicit allow. So I'm going to say false. Yes, I was right. What's the hint? Because the source, VPC, and principal service name conditions are and inside the string not equals, both conditions must be true to evaluate as true. Got it. Not action, not resource, not principal. AWS IAM has a concept of not action, not resource, and not principal. These can be used in more complex cases, but be careful. Doing an allow on all principals except one would allow all AWS customers access to the resource. You can use not action to grant broad access to an account while reserving sensitive accounts for special administrators. This is one way to allow someone to administer an account but not modify the network. Not principal is used for explicitly denying access to a resource except for a small number of users. For example, this policy will explicitly deny access to the Dynamo table Forbidden Forest, I love the Harry Potter theme, to all users of that account except Hagrid. All right, he has to go out there and get those spiders. So statement effect is deny, not principal. So this does not apply to the Hagrid user. And here's the action put item in the Forbidden Forest. Another way of protecting access to something would be via not resource. The same policy prevents most users from accessing the Forbidden Forest table. So effect is allow on this, which at first it seems like we're going to allow everyone to put an item, but not in the Forbidden Forest. I see. Now, all students at Hogwarts have access to put to any DynamoDB table except the Forbidden Forest table. As headmaster, Dumbledore's IAM policy is effect, allow, he can do anything to any resource. Would he have access to the Forbidden Forest if the second policy were in place? Well, let's think about that. We have an allow on any resource, but we have, I wouldn't call it an explicit deny. It's just a not resource. Oh, gosh. I was right. Okay, beautiful. Awesome. All right. We finished this room. Congratulations. We are done with IAM permissions. As usual, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we will dive into the next room. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is the end of this video. But hey, when this video is done, just jump to the next one, and you can also continue this series with us. For those of you on Twitch, I will be right back. Let's take a 5-minute break.